Imagine standing in the freezing winds of the Ice Age. No jackets, no sweaters, no cozy blankets, just raw survival. What would you wear to stay alive? The answer might surprise you because prehistoric clothing wasn't just about warmth. It was about skill, creativity, and sometimes survival of the fittest. For thousands of years before history was written, humans dressed themselves without factories, sewing machines, or even scissors as we know them today. From animal hides to plant fibers, from crude bone needles to intricate weaving, prehistoric clothing tells us an incredible story not just of fashion, but of survival, identity, and even status. Let's take a journey back in time and uncover, what did prehistoric people actually wear? Our earliest ancestors probably didn't wear clothes in the way we think of them today. Anthropologists believe that for much of early human history, people lived in warm climates and were often naked or used simple coverings like leaves, bark, or grass skirts. Clothing wasn't needed for warmth, it was more about modesty, protection from the sun, and maybe even symbolic decoration. But as humans migrated out of Africa into colder regions, nature's wardrobe became essential. Animal hides, furs, and skins were the first real materials used for clothing. Early humans would drape them over their bodies, sometimes fastening them with thorns or simple knots. Fast forward to around 40,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, temperatures dropped, glaciers spread, and survival meant staying warm. This is when clothing started to evolve into something much more advanced. Archaeological discoveries, like those at the site of Sungir in Russia, show that Ice Age humans were already making tailored clothing from animal hides and fur. They used bone needles, some over 30,000 years old, to stitch pieces together. Imagine the patience it took, threading sinew animal tendon through holes to make a warm, fitted garment. The famous Otzi the Iceman, who lived over 5,000 years ago and was found frozen in the Alps, wore a complex outfit: a cloak made of woven grass, leggings from goat hide, a jacket of deerskin, and even waterproof shoes stuffed with grass for insulation. This wasn't just random, it was carefully designed for mountain survival. Different environments meant different wardrobes. In cold regions, heavy furs, layered hides, and leather boots dominated. In tropical areas, bark cloth, woven plant fibers, and minimal coverings were enough. In coastal regions, seal skins, fish skins, or woven reeds provided waterproofing. Over time, prehistoric people began experimenting with plant-based materials. Flax, nettle, and other fibers could be spun into thread, woven into cloth, and dyed with natural pigments from berries, roots, and minerals. One of the oldest examples of weaving is from Catalhoyuk in modern-day Turkey around 8,000 years ago, where people made cloth from flax, an early form of linen. Clothing wasn't only functional, it also became a way to express identity. Beads made from shells, bones, and teeth were sewn into garments. Some Ice Age coats have been found decorated with thousands of tiny beads, taking hundreds of hours to make. Anthropologists think this could have been about status, tribe identity, or even attracting mates, the prehistoric version of designer fashion. One detail that's often forgotten is prehistoric footwear. Long before modern shoes, people crafted them from leather and plant fibers. The world's oldest known shoes from Armenia, around 500 years old, were made from a single piece of leather, shaped to the foot and laced with leather thongs. Footwear was especially important for hunting and migration, protecting feet from sharp rocks, freezing snow, or burning desert sands. Making clothes in prehistory was no small task. They scraped hides with flint tools to soften them. They tanned leather using animal brains or plant tannins. They cut materials with stone blades. They sewed with bone or antler needles and sinew thread. Later, weaving looms and spindles appeared, turning fibers into cloth. The shift from purely leather and fur to woven textiles was one of humanity's biggest clothing revolutions. Clothing directly reflected the climate and geography. In Ice Age Europe, layered fur-lined coats were common. In tropical Southeast Asia, lightweight woven skirts or loincloths dominated. In deserts, loose and light clothing protected from sunburn but allowed airflow. This adaptation to environment is a major reason why prehistoric clothing styles varied so much across the globe. Clothing in prehistory was more than survival gear, it became a marker of progress. The development of textiles, dyes, and sewing techniques is closely tied to the growth of early settlements and trade. Fibers like wool and linen eventually became valuable commodities, sparking trade networks long before written records. From leaves to leather, from fur to flax, prehistoric clothing was a masterclass in human adaptation. Every stitch, every weave, every decoration was a product of skill, environment, and culture. So the next time you zip up your jacket or tie your shoelaces, remember you're part of a clothing story that began tens of thousands of years ago, when survival depended not just on what you could hunt or gather, but also on what you could wear.